On this day in 2000, the PlayStation 2 was released. With countless titles released over its lifetime, the PlayStation 2 introduced so many new worlds and brought us back to some familiar ones. Which PlayStation game do you think best stood the test of time? Let us know in the comments.
Number 10. God of War 2. Of course, a God of War game would make it onto the list. No matter which one you play, it's still the same hack and slash action we know and love, and the combos are immensely satisfying to pull off. But why does the second game steal the spotlight from the original? Well, for starters, it improved how Kratos traverses the world, specifically the climbing segments. Secondly, it eased up on the difficulty, whereas the original got carried away at times. To this day, the game is still intense and gripping from start to finish, and the same can be said about its predecessor, for the most part. Remember the Tower of Blades? Yeah. Number 9. Ratchet Clank, Up Your Arsenal.
Oh man, this job is too much fun!
If there was a game to describe as the definitive Ratchet & Clank experience, it'd be the third game in the series. Up Your Arsenal is just about everything you'd expect from a Ratchet & Clank game, and more. Not only did it introduce longtime series antagonist Dr. Nefarious, but it also boasted arguably the best selection of weapons. In addition to favorites like the Glove of Doom and the Bouncer, you also had new tools of destruction like the Lava Gun, Plasma Whip, and the Shock Blaster. And to top it all off, it featured the most insane boss battle in the entire series. What more can we say? Number 8. Katamari Damacy. You don't know pure ecstasy until you've played a Katamari game, or in this case, the original title, Katamari Damacy. This charming little franchise from Bandai Namco tasks players with rolling up various objects in order to create massive stars, or Katamari. Even though you start out small, there's something fulfilling about watching your Katamari grow bigger and bigger as you bring about a claustrophobic apocalypse onto Earth. Then you have the quirky cutscenes that'll either freak you out or make you laugh at the absurdity of it all. Either way, there's no such thing as a bad time when it comes to Katamari Damacy, and thankfully you can experience this title on other platforms via the Reroll Remaster. Number 7. Xenosaga series.
Had we waited 10 more seconds to intervene, we wouldn't have been able to get you back at all.
JRPGs have gotten significantly more popular over the last several years, and with some getting sequels and remakes, we gotta ask, where in the love of waifus is Xenosaga? Look, we realize Xenosaga games were heavier on cutscenes than they were on gameplay, but that doesn't make them any less of a gem. Spanning 3 separately released episodes, Xenosaga gave us an enthralling and complex story with a fleshed-out world, all wrapped in classic turn-based combat and character customization. Even if Xenosaga was just ported to modern hardware, we'd fork over our hard-earned cash in a heartbeat just to be with Cosmos once again.
Cosmos, activate Hilbert.
Roger.
Number 6. Tekken V. When it comes to Tekken, the 5th game in the series is arguably one of the best. At the same time, this was the entry with the tightest controls, the biggest roster, and the most diverse game modes. On top of your standard fare like arcade, story, and time attack, you could also play a 3D beat-em-up mode that explores more of Jin Kazama's story. And if you still needed more Tekken, you had plenty with just this one title, as Tekken 5 included the arcade versions of the first 3 games with all characters unlocked. Needless to say, this was the best way to experience some good-ass Tekken.
Good night.
Number 5. Jak 2.
I think I figured out most of this machine.
It interacts somehow with that large precursor ring. I just hope he didn't break anything moving it here to the lab.
In hindsight, Jak 2 hasn't aged all that well between the gunplay and extensive traveling. However, it's still worth playing considering how the game served as a turning point for the franchise. No longer was this your average 3D platformer. This was a dark shooter platformer. This wasn't just various areas based on themes. Now you had a whole world to explore, one that was living and breathing with denizens, soldiers, and beasts. Sure, it may come off too angsty for some, but if you played this as a kid, chances are you're still itching to play this.
Something's happening to me. Something he did. I can't control it.
Very impressive.
You okay, Jak?
Number 4. Devil May Cry. Before we were jamming out to Devil Trigger and DMC5, there was the original 2001 classic. Devil May Cry took full advantage of the PS2's capabilities, serving up an experience that was fast, brutal, and chaotic. Borrowing the concept of juggling from fighting games, players could come up with insane combos and maneuvers to create a spectacle of a fight. Coupled with the challenging difficulty and epic boss battles, this was certainly a game no PS2 owner could pass up. So, is it really a surprise that the game managed to sell more than 3 million copies? We think not. Number 3. Sly 2: Band of Thieves. Each of the Sly Cooper games are great, but Sly 2 was the series at its strongest. Straying away from the more linear format of the first game, Sly 2 gave us a playground to explore. Guards roamed the area as you tried infiltrating buildings, snapping recon photos, and hunted down those elusive bottles.
Look at the facts. Facts? Sly Cooper is right here. I caught him red-handed.
There was more danger lurking around every corner, more options for traversing the map, and more ways to play thanks to the addition of Murray and Bentley as playable characters. If Sly and the gang were to return on modern hardware, we'd love to see something more in line with this installment.
Nice work, Sly. I'm downloading from Dimitri's mainframe as we speak.
Number 2. Twisted Metal Black. Before 2001, Twisted Metal was suffering from an identity crisis between the wacky nature of TM3 and TM4, on top of the weirdly family-friendly vibe of Small Brawl. Twisted Metal Black, on the other hand, was here to remind us that this was about mayhem, ballistics, explosions, and plowing armored vehicles into each other. Not only that, but it featured a cast of characters with their own screwed-up backstories ranging from the dark and deranged to the uncomfortably funny. With expansive maps, brutal difficulty, and thrilling carnage, Twisted Metal Black was the series in its finest form, and we're so glad it managed to find its way onto modern hardware. Of course, if you want an easier experience, Head-On's PS2 port was just as good. Number 1. Champions of Norath: Realms of EverQuest. Okay, we know it's possible to still play EverQuest, but honestly, Champions of Norath was quite possibly the best title in the franchise. Well, it was, assuming you're someone who prefers more action and fast-paced combat. Even with the gameplay that deviated greatly from the EverQuest formula, Champions of Norath excelled with its own unique story and characters. With deep character customization, cooperative play, and fun abilities, this was an RPG everyone needed to experience. Now, what do we need to do to get a remake or a remaster of this gem,
Whew! I'll finally be able to get the first good night's sleep in days.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.